Bright Coop had its humble beginnings in 1951. Charles and N.G. Bright, reared in their father's grocery business, had returned from World War II. As the 1950s approached, they realized the time of the personal service grocery store had passed. With an abundance of both pine and hardwood timber in the area, the brothers thought of building church furniture. The broiler industry was in its infancy in East Texas. Local chicken haulers suggested the brothers instead meet the need for wooden chicken coops to transport birds to markets such as the Houston area. There was a readily available labor pool of unskilled but hard-working rural folks who were willing to learn what it took to make coops. Eventually, machines adapted or designed by machinist Walter Harris were used. Harris joined the company in its infancy. As with any new venture, the Bright boys tried many things in getting their business going. They manufactured cane-bottom chairs and broom handles. They hauled grain and other produce. They soon added a small mill behind their lot to cut and dress the wood. As the broiler industry began to grow in the 1950s, so did their business. From supplying a local market, they began to expand into neighboring states and into Mexico. They sold coops in nearly every broiler-producing state, all the while adding to their facilities and expanding their holdings around their original site. With the advent of plastic coops in the early 1970s, wood chicken and turkey coops began to lose their popularity with the live haul industry that had evolved through the integration of the broiler industry. Changes in trucking regulations allowed more coops to be hauled in one load, and the lighter plastic coops fit the bill. Continuing their wood products base, the Brights added pallet building to their product line, supplying wood pallets to the petrochemical companies and refineries along the Texas and Louisiana Gulf Coast, as well as other markets. In 1976, N.G., the older of the brothers, decided to retire and sold half of his interest to Charles and the other half to a longtime employee, Joe Biggerstaff. Upon his return from the Southeastern Poultry Convention and Trade Show in Atlanta in 1978, Charles was convinced that the wood chicken coop business was all but gone, as plastic coops had taken the market. He and Walter Harris immediately began to consider ways to develop a better mousetrap. Thus was born the cage dumping system. John Holliday, an employee of the USDA's Russell Research Center in Georgia, had developed a coop dumper, and he aided in the design and development of the cage dumping system. Charles field tested the revolutionary large metal coops at poultry farms and processing plants. Eventually, the advantages of the system proved their worth, and Bright Coop reinvented itself as a large metalworking manufacturer. Sales now include international markets. In 1989, the pallet operation was sold and Charles Bright became the sole owner of the company. In 1992, the firm began building trailers for the forestry, poultry, and highway markets under the Viking trailer brand. Additionally, the company builds Bright Bullet forklifts specially adapted to the poultry industry and unique inventions such as the automated chicken catcher. Bright Coop Incorporated continues to grow, as evidenced by the addition of the 35,000 square foot state-of-the-art trailer manufacturing facility in 1998. A 17,000 square foot addition to that facility is planned for the near future. The firm continues in the tradition established by Novel Bright. He taught his sons the meaning of personal service at an early age and instilled in them the lesson by example that your word is as good as your bond. Clem Russell, general manager, adheres to these same principles, learned through long association as an employee whose tenure began when he was a young teenager. For several recent years, Russell supervised on-site operations while Charles Bright tended to his ailing wife, Lois Marie. After she passed away, Charles Bright returned to daily work at the plant. The company is a large employer and has had a major impact on our community's economy, but it goes beyond that. Co-founder Charles Bright has invested heavily and encouraged others to invest in the historic preservation of his beloved hometown. The improvements to downtown Nacogdoches, including the visitor center, historic markers, lighting, and statues, are a testament to his leadership. During a recent plant tour, Bright pointed to an antique sawmill whistle on the top of the roof of one of the manufacturing buildings. For decades, the whistle has signaled the beginning and end of every workday, as well as marking lunchtime and other breaks for employees. The 175 workers pay attention to the whistle, knowing that the shrill blasts also mean the company is still going strong. Mr. Bright's eyes light up as he repeats one of his favorite mottos. I tell all the employees, he says, that in everything we do, we are trying to keep that whistle blowing. The Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce is proud to present the Large Business of the Year Award to Bright Coop.